Black Sports Network proudly presents the CAA Lacrosse Game of the Week. Today, live from Johnny Unitas Stadium, it's the second weekend of conference play, and we feature a matchup of two teams looking to rebound after losses last Saturday as the Drexel Dragons visit the Towson Tigers. I'm Spiro Marikas along with Mitch Bilal. We'll bring you all the action tonight. And Mitch, for both of these teams, almost a desperate situation because they're both 0-1 in the conference, and only four of the six schools will make the CAA tournament. Nobody wants to fall to 0-2.
Absolutely, and both teams really struggling to find their identities here with some big wins and some big losses for each team, and both starting out that CAA schedule, as you mentioned, 0-1. It's going to be crucial that this game, the CAA games are always such battles, that this one is going to be a big one for both these teams who are hoping to have continued success as each has in the past few years.
The Tigers have won 5 straight in this series, but you look at Towson and they come into the game and their biggest bugaboo has been turnovers, 135 in 9 games. For Drexel, it's been face-offs. They're only winning about 43%. So for Towson, they can't turn it over. For Drexel, they got to win some face-offs.
Yeah, Coach Volker talked about this. A lot of UMass's success last week came off with transition play at the face-off X and not being able to secure those possessions. That can definitely be something that plagues you. And then like you mentioned, those failed turnovers, those so often you're playing defense, you get a big stop, and then you fail a clear or you turn the ball over, and that leads to offense for the other team. That can just take the momentum and deflate a team defensively after they've made some really good plays. So both teams are going to need to polish things up, at the face-off X for Drexel, and then clearing the ball, taking care of the ball on their offensive end, and making sure they're being efficient when they have the ball for Towson.
For the Dragons, Matt Varian and Reed Bowering, both with 20 goals coming into this game. You look at Towson, their leading goal scorer, John Mazza, will not play tonight due to a team violation. So their leading goal scorer is Grant Maloof with 11. Timmy Monahan, who had been starting, will not start tonight. He's got 10 goals. But you look at Drexel, 2 guys with 20, 5 guys with double-digit goals. For Towson, they'll only have 2 players with double-digit goals playing tonight.
Yeah, certainly Towson's offense is something that's a bit of a question mark right now, and they're going to have to figure out what that MO is going to be for them. Who is going to be the step-up scorer for them tonight for tonight's game? And they had a little bit of a shortened week of preparation. This game was supposed to be tomorrow and got bumped up to tonight, so they had one less practice to put in what they need to put in. But I'm sure both teams are rearing to go here as they're looking forward to Towson hosting their first home CAA game. And like we said, every game is so important as you get into the conference play.
So we are set to go here at Johnny Unitas Stadium. Beautiful night for lacrosse. Temperatures in the mid-60s and a clear sky. And again, as you mentioned, Mitch, this game was supposed to be tomorrow, but they were anticipating 6-7 inches of snow, which is now not going to happen. But they moved the game to tonight, and we're set to go.
We'll take it on a 65-degree night here in beautiful Towson, Maryland.
All right. Jimmy Coita will go up against Towson's Alex Woodall as we get set for the face-off here tonight. Towson with the white jerseys, Drexel with the dark blue, and this face-off and a whistle going to go against the Tigers, and Drexel will have first possession here. Right off the bat, what do you see from the Tigers defensively?
Both teams are coached by stalwart defensemen, guys that know the game inside and out, played at the highest levels. Coach Volker, Johns Hopkins grad, and Coach Nadalin just being a multi-Team USA member, having so much knowledge. So Coach Volker and Coach Nez both complement each other's defense, and I think what you're going to see is a lot of different looks, whether it's putting in zone out of a timeout, putting in some different matchups. But right now it looks like Towson's starting right out in a zone, so interesting to see them come out and throw zone right away.
Drexel moving it back and forth. Nick Fox has it on the far side, comes down the right, and they'll work it into the middle of the field. Shot taken wide there by Marshall King, but Drexel backing it up, and they'll keep possession here.
It's interesting going into a zone so early in a game. Usually you see that come out a little bit later in a game as teams feel each other out. It's an interesting look. I think Coach Nadler might want to try to slow things down and make it difficult so that they can't get momentum going for the Drexel offense.
Well, last week the Tiger defense played very well against Hofstra in the first half. The Tigers trailed 2-1 at the half, and then Hofstra came alive in the second half. Pass in the middle intended for Nick Fox and stolen away by the Tigers as Cal Livingston has it. We'll flip it back to goalkeeper Shane Brennan. Mitch will get into it during the broadcast, but both these goaltenders have interesting stories.
Very interesting stories, and you mentioned Cal Livingston picking up that ground ball. He is one of just a handful of seniors on this Towson team. So you talked about turnovers being such a crucial feature. It can be difficult with a young team here. So Cal Livingston stepping up, and hopefully we'll be able to lead that defense and step in, really make a difference as they start trying to make those right decisions with the ball.
Tigers with their first possession as we're 2 minutes into this ball game and no score. Jean-Luc Chetner, the Canadian, has it up top for the Tigers. Pass over on the right, get it to Andrew Beecham. Beecham moving in, and will feed behind the cage as Towson moving it around. And Drexel here defensively, they look like they're in a man-to-man.
Yeah, they're packing it a little bit, playing man-to-man, but definitely supporting that inside crease, doing a nice job of making Towson move the ball. That was something Coach Volker mentioned. They want to make him make 3 or 4 passes.
Shot taken by Beecham, which is wide, but Towson backing it up. So both teams with a shot on their first possession that did not hit the cage. That's been a problem for Towson this year, as they are only getting 52% of their shots on cage this season. As Monahan will pass over to the left to Brendan Sunday, who was moved from midfield to attack for Towson.
Beecham was a guy that Coach Nadalin said he is expecting to do big things, and a young player.
As Phil Wise comes up the right, turns, shoots, and gets it over the right shoulder. Great title bomb, and the Tigers take a 1-0 lead with 12:07 to go here in the first quarter.
Just a nice one-on-one move. He's covered by a short stick there, recognizes that matchup. They're playing man-on-man, but after the slide, when an attackman gets matched up by a short stick, he sees that, realizes he just takes a nice hard move to change the direction of X, gets his hands free, takes that extra step, and stays high to high. So nothing spectacular there, but recognizing a matchup, doing a nice job of attacking the cage and taking that extra step to greatness and finishing with a nice shot.
And that is the first career goal for the freshman from Carlsbad, California. As this faceoff is controlled by Drexel's Jimmy Coita, and Coita runs it down into the attack zone. So Drexel trailing 1-0, 3 minutes in, will set up for their second offensive possession. Marshall King going to wind and shoot, and
it looked like Goodrich took a big chunk of that, maybe in the shoulder.
Comes out, and the Tigers are going to run with it, leading 1-0.
It's a good way to make your goalie happy right there. Jump in front of a few shots and take one for the team.
And how about Zach Goodrich? What makes him one of the best short stick defensive middies in the country?
Just one of the best defensive middies in the country, or defensive players in the country, I think it's fair to say. He's just, and as you can see, he's being marked up by almost shut off here, because he can do a little bit of everything. He can play a little offense too, but it's his speed and his ability to cover ground. He stays with his man at all times, stays in the hands, and is just so good. There's
a shot taken by Grant Maloof, and he scores his 12th goal of the year for the Tigers, and it's 2-0 Towson, 11:05 into this first quarter. So Towson with 2 goals in 4 minutes after last week scoring just 3 the entire game against Hofstra.
And that was, Maloof was covered by a long pole there and just does a nice job of splitting to his outside hand, and just a great on-the-run shot down the alley. That's probably one that, might have gone off the pipe and in just a good placement of a shot, but that's probably one that Craig Teitelbaum wants to have back. So the last 2 goals, high to high from Phil Weiss, and then coming down the alley, just a shot against the long pole here. Those are 2 that Craig is probably going to want to have back, but look for the Drexel defense to really buckle down. This is a similar situation that happened to them last week in UMass, and that game, as we all know, came down to the wire at the end.
There's the second whistle against the Tigers on a face-off here, as Drexel will set up on offense. So Teitelbaum has been under duress on his team's defensive possession. So far, Shane Brennan hasn't had to face a shot on goal.
Yeah, and this zone look that Towson is throwing is really, I think, almost, it looks like Drexel's unsure of what to do. And we saw Marshall King take a shot from outside the last time that hit Goodrich and came back, but they look like they don't know what to do. They're not quite ready for this zone, I don't think.
Varian passes it over on the left side to Fox. Fox trying to move in as they'll work it out top to Manganello. Manganello back over to the left side to King as they work it down the right side now to Luke Stansfield. So what do you want to do offensively to attack this zone?
To beat a zone, you have to make them rotate. You have to make two guys cover one and then find that open man and move the ball quickly. So it's all about drawing. It's not quite a slide in a zone, but you're drawing a man to you, making that miscommunication happen, and then finding that open man either with a throwback or by moving the ball quickly. And they tried it there. Great job by the Towson defense of getting their sticks up in lanes and forcing that bad pass out of bounds.
Stansfield throws it over the head of Fox, and it goes out of bounds, and the Tigers will get it on the Drexel turnover. So we talked at the top about how Towson has been turnover prone, but here early on, Drexel with a big turnover.
And that's one of my favorite things to do defensively is that late poke check as players are going to make that just a pass around the outside. If you can get a nice poke check in to the gloves, that can also often disrupt that pass. I think that's what happened. He got under his bottom hand, the ball sailed on.
Severo out near midfield, and now he's stripped, and there's the Towson turnover that they've been doing. And Drexel turns it right over the other way as Jake Kiernan throws a pass that's very wide and goes out of bounds. So Drexel with a couple of straight turnovers there.
And speaking of nice checks, that was just a beautiful bottom hand slap check there by Jake Kiernan, and one that he's going to want to get back after doing a nice job taking the ball away, and then he turns it over in the ride. So look for him to continue throwing the hammer as he's playing defense now.
So the Tigers leading 2-0. They 55 to go here in the first quarter. Throw it out top as they'll work it to the midfield circle and get it to Jake McLean. McLean over on the far side to Andrew Beecham, who earlier had his first career goal here tonight. Again, both teams are 0-1 in conference play. As the Tigers, in the middle of a 3-game losing streak, feed in front, shot and a score by Johnny Jafrida, as Jafrida comes up with his third goal of the season, and it's 3-0 in favor of Towson. And now Ryan Volker's going to call a timeout.
Again, Phil Weiss covered by a short stick, attacks that short stick, and this time the Drexel defense is ready. They send the slide early, which leaves Jafrida wide open in the middle. He follows his slide. You can see him take just 2 or 3 steps behind that slide man, finds that open space. And in the college lacrosse game, if you catch a ball with no one on you from 5 yards out, you have to score that goal. He does a nice job of changing planes and puts that in. So here we see Weiss recognizes he has that shorty, comes around the top, takes that extra step, and just keeps that high to high. This is just a simple split dodge down the alley with a great shot at the end. And then the final goal, again, that short stick matchup, exploiting that to find the inside look. And we see Drexel over there. Coach Volker is certainly giving his defense an earful, because those are 3 goals that you have 3 inconsistencies there. You don't provide support to your short stick, you get beat with a long pole, and then you leave a man open in the middle. So those are 3 things, 3 mistakes, almost cardinal sins defensively that you're going to want to clean up. And as a defensive guy, you know Coach Volker is reading the riot act about things that they need to do better as they try to get back in this game.
So both teams huddling up here, and I'm sure Coach Nadlin is telling his team to continue doing whatever it is that you're doing well, as again, neither one of these clubs want to fall to 0-2 in conference play.
Yeah, what a start for Towson. We talked about the offense being a bit of a question mark. To come out and score 3 goals in the first 7 minutes, that's something that coaches got to be really excited about.
All right, so we get set for another face-off as Koida going to go up against Alex Woodall.
It looks like Steven Stillwell is actually going to be
taking
this face-off. So Woodall and Stillwell split a little bit of time last week. Stillwell did really well at the X against Hofstra, despite the results. He did a nice job in the face-off game, so looking like he'll take some work off of the plate of Alex Woodall tonight.
He also fared okay against Trevor Baptiste in Denver a couple of weeks ago.
That face-off game has taken on such a big part of it. We talked about without a shot clock, with a limited shot clock. Those possessions are so crucial. You can see teams like Albany and Denver having so much success, and even in games where it's close, just having that advantage makes such a big difference.
Yeah, and the problem for a team that isn't winning the face, you can't go on a big run if you're down because you're not getting the ball.
Right. And and you have to take chances defensively, and that opens you up to other susceptibilities. So certainly such a big part of the game, and you look at guys that have trained so hard in it, and some leaders in the space. Greg Grenland, I know, is a guy that worked with the Drexel face-off man, Jim McCoyda, has done a lot of work with Greg and his organization. So it's definitely an interesting part of the game. Up for debate by purists and by those who want to see that position changed.
Beecham feeds in front, and a shot taken there by Jafrida, and it's wide as Towson backing it up, leading 3-0 midway through this first quarter.
I think Jafrida probably had the time to turn around. He was wide open. There wasn't anyone within 2 yards. If he had just switched hands or put that over his shoulder, he might have had a good look there at the cage, but he was wide open inside again.
So, Coach Volker, do you see anything that he's done coming out of this timeout differently than what we saw before?
We still see a short stick on Phil Weiss, so there hasn't been any, at least matchup changes wise, but I would expect that they're going to want to slide a little bit earlier than they have in the past.
Work it up top to Beecham, over to Chetner as they play catch out front.
There we see that quick slide, do a better job of recovering to the inside.
Over to Monahan, who loses it. Ball rolling out and picked up by the Dragons, so Towson turning it over. Drexel going to try to get on the board here as Matt Klingus brings it down.
Drexel had an extra man there, but opted with 2 poles down on the offensive end. They opted to pull it out. Probably a smart decision, as they've played a lot of defense in this quarter. Let their offense get settled and try to see if they can get a matchup they like and get their offense going, because they haven't been able, like you said, they haven't been able to get anything on net based on this zone that's really stifled their opportunities here.
Varian throws it over on the far side to Bowering. They're the 2 20-goal scorers for this Dragon team, as Varian comes up the left, and he tries to slip past Livingston and can't, and now the ball loose, but scooped up by Marshall King. And King will shoot, and he sticks it in the top left corner, and Drexel is on the board.
What a shot. That is Marshall King, Canadian, brother of Jesse King, a longtime teammate of mine with the Georgia Swarm. And you can see that once he gets his feet set, he sees that corner, and that's just a great shot. Paints the piping in. Great defense by Cal Livingston there, and then a little bit of a scramble situation. Towson really trying to attack that ball. I think more important in that situation is just match up, find your man, and eliminate shots like that from 8 or 9 yards out from very talented shooters. So in that situation, just want to do a better job of finding your man instead of trying to knock the ball down. Match up, play defense again, because they were playing very good one-on-one defense, and they had shifted back into a man-to-man zone. Man-to-man defense.
Now procedure against Drexel on the face-off after King scored his 13th goal, so the junior from Victoria, British Columbia getting on the board. And the Dragons down 3-1 with 5:35 to go here in the first quarter. Drexel's been in some high-scoring affairs this year.
We talked about the youth on the Towson side. They have 2 freshmen starting at defense, so when you have that, and they've had couple different goalies playing net, certainly trying to find that rhythm, that can often lead to some high-scoring games. And also when you have the confidence that your offense can score goals, it's a little bit easier to play that run-and-gun style occasionally.
As they work it over on the far side to Jake McLean. Up the right. Shoots, and a save there by Teitelbaum. For a second, Towson thought it got past him, but it didn't.
That was Brendan Sunday with a nice question mark there. I think that's a save that Teitelbaum he needed. He needed to get that confidence going. You can see it was between his legs, and he sat on it to trap that ball. But he needs to get something going there on the defense to feel confident and start getting the defense to listen to his command. So I think that's going to be a big part of his success if he continues down the road, is that save right there.
So the Tigers are leading the Dragons 3-1 with 4:25 remaining here in the first quarter. They work it out top to Manganello, and Manganello over on the near side to Jacob O'Donnell. Back up top to Manganello, who moves to the right.
Towson.
Skip pass down low, and it's deflected by Towson, goes out of bounds, and will remain Drexel ball.
Towson back into that zone. So they shifted over to a man-to-man defense for just 1 possession. Now they're back into the zone.
And a shot taken by the Dragons, which is wide. So Drexel with 3:59 to go here in the first quarter, after Towson opened up a 3-0 lead, trying to come back with 2 of their own.
Good individual defense from the short stick there, and that's key. Make it hard for them to beat your one-on-one matchups so everyone can stay in their zones, keep their sticks up in lanes, and make it very difficult. The key is making sure they cover up the inside. Drexel had a couple early looks inside that they weren't able to capitalize on.
Nick Fox throws it up top to O'Donnell, and then back over to Fox on the far side. He comes down and will feed behind the cage to Matt Varian. Now feed inside, double teamed is Manganello. Ball stripped loose, and coming away with it is Towson's Cal Livingston. So he's gotten a couple of ground balls here on turnovers.
Yeah, Cal Livingston is a guy that has been all over the field. We talked about him being one of the few seniors there. It's great if you're Coach Nadalin to, after some challenges off the field, have a senior that can step into a role, step up and start making plays. If that's something you can lean on, that's something that can galvanize the team and really get the troops going.
So the Tigers are leading Drexel 3-1 with 2:45 to go here in the first quarter, as Jafrida work it out top to Chetner. Chetner, the transfer from Richmond, as now Monahan loses it, goes out of bounds, and Drexel forces another turnover. So even though Towson's put up 3 goals here, Mitch, in the first quarter, they have not been clean with the ball.
Yeah, and that was just a sloppy pass. I think John-Luc Chetner just took his foot off the gas for a second and threw a little bit of a lazy pass there. And that's just getting complacent. The offense, why they were having so much success was because they were moving the ball crisp, they were dodging hard, and they were finding the open man. So they're going to have to get back to that if they want to keep pouring it on offensively.
So Drexel again going to try to cut the Tiger lead to 1 as they throw it up top to Stansfield, who gets it to O'Donnell. Has Drexel made any adjustments to this zone?
So far they haven't. They've been looking for that outside shot. I've seen they've started to work that double crease.
There's a rocket by King, and he's got his 2nd goal of the night.
Pretty much the same spot for King. I think he likes that spot. Some shooters have their hot spots, and that seems to be one of them. Earlier, a possession before, I saw him shaking his stick like he wanted it in that same spot. So that set feet, does a nice job, gets it back. No real rotation from the zone, but he's against a shorty, so he has a little bit more room to get his hands free, and just does a nice job of taking that low to high.
So King with his 14th goal of the year to go along with his 2nd of the night. And after Towson scored the first 3, Drexel with the next 2. And 1:42 remaining here in the first quarter of play.
It's been a very slow-paced game, right?
Yeah.
The face-off game has been a lot of violations. Every team taking their time. I think when you put a zone in, that takes a lot of air out of the ball. You're not seeing those long one-on-one dodges. So it's been an interesting start here on a beautiful night. That was a big CAA matchup. Not a lot of energy and excitement because it's so slow-paced. So it'll be interesting as these teams really start coming down the wire.
Well, Drexel's going to be a man up as Gray Bowden commits the penalty, and we'll head to the box as Drexel, with their first man advantage of the evening on the year, they're scoring at 37%. Towson has.
Drexel on a man advantage.
Gray Bowden just getting a little excited there. Anytime you see the red tape of a face-off guy, sometimes you get it's like blood in the water for a shark. You get over-aggressive. It's similar to when a pole runs down. Sometimes they get so excited trying to check another pole that you just get too happy with the checks, and there he just gets a little bit too much on it.
Well, Towson has not been good against the extra man. 48% teams are scoring. As Drexel will try to tie this game up with a minute to go in the first quarter. 40 seconds left on the penalty. As the Dragons move it down low, and King with a hat trick.
A natural hat trick at that. King with 3 goals in a row, just does a nice job. He started out, wait for the replay, but he started out on the top of that 3-3 and just worked himself around, and went all the way from the top to the back. And as he came around, just caught that pretty much undefended, was able to take that top step. You can see him running around the back of the crease, catches that, and just shoots it right as he gets the goal line extended. that ability to score from GLE, that's something that's become so much more important in the college game than it was even when I was playing back in 2003 to 2007. You could see that starting to get more and more important, and guys like Ned Crotty, who did such a good job of running upfield, turning, sprinting, and firing, and now Jordan Wolf, players like that, and now it's trickled down to the college game is such a big piece of it, being able to score at or even below GLE.
Well, Drexel is in their 10th game. This is the 9th game this year. They've had someone with a hat trick as Marshall King with 3 of them. So it's Towson 3, Marshall King 3 here in the final 48 seconds of the first quarter. As Towson will work it out to midfield, and Grant Maloof will have it for the Tigers. So if you're Drexel and Coach Volker, you're pleased that your team did not fall apart after falling down 3-0. If you're Coach Nadlin and the Tigers, now you're a little concerned because the opponent has matched the 3 goals you scored to start this game.
Yeah, and it's almost a similar situation that Drexel was in last week. They went down by 2 goals right in basically off the first 2 face-offs and were able to claw back in it. So something they're used to, and I think with a young team, you got to expect that you're going to have some challenges, but being able to bounce back, that's the key.
Severo shoots as the quarter is a 1/10 of a second from coming to an end, and it goes high, so Towson will put it into play and the quarter will expire. So Mitch, as we head into this second quarter, you know, things have changed. Drexel's going to be pumped and the Tigers are not.
Yeah, we talked about this face-off being such a big piece. It's certainly impacted possessions, but there's been no transition off the face-off, which Coach Volker was worried about. A lot of violations and a very slow-paced, methodical game waiting to pick each other apart.
All right, so that's the end of the first quarter. Our score is Towson 3 and Drexel 3, as the Tigers and the Dragons will come back for the second quarter of play here in Towson, Maryland. Next Saturday, the CAA Game of the Week will come to you live from Long Island when the Hofstra Pride play host to the Delaware Blue Hens. Coverage gets underway with the Lacrosse Now pregame show at 12:30 p.m. only on the Lac Sports Network. 3-3 our score as we start this second quarter of play in Towson, Maryland. The Tigers of Towson against the Dragons of Drexel. And coming away with the face-off is Zach Goodrich with the ground ball on a very contested face-off.
And that's the first contested one we've seen here, Spiro. That was the first scrappy ground ball where they've gotten up and down, they've checked each other, and that's the lacrosse we're looking to see here. Hopefully that'll spark some energy for both teams as they compete here in the second through fourth quarters.
Yeah, and then Towson almost lost it as Drexel all over them, but the Tigers able to hang on. So Towson took a 3-0 lead in the first quarter, and Drexel has answered back with 3 of their own, all coming from Marshall King.
Marshall King telling the team, get on my shoulders, I'll carry us back into this thing. But they have a lot of weapons on offense, so that's a scary part for Towson.
Brendan Sunday throws it behind to Phil Wise. Wise coming up the right, he turns and shoots and gets checked as he fires that shot. Goes out of bounds, but Towson backing it up. So this Drexel defense has gotten much stiffer here over the last 10-11 minutes of gameplay.
And that was something.
And there's Brendan Sunday to answer that tough Drexel defense as the junior from New York scores his 10th goal of the year and gives Towson a 4-3 lead.
And just as I was about to say, Drexel's done a much better job of sliding. That was one situation where Sunday beat his man and no one came, and that's the issue, is when to go and when not to go. That defensively, if you're in sync, you start clicking, you get into a rhythm, you feel it, and that was an example of where he just, there's a lack of communication here, whether it's by the second slide pushing the slider or whether that's the goalie having the confidence to send the slide when he wants it to go. But just a great one-on-one move by Sunday there. Again, takes the time to set his feet and sticks it far corner.
So we get set for the second face-off of this quarter. And this time Koida kicks it backwards and keeps it himself as the Dragons will try to clear. So Drexel's Jack Farrell sends it back to his goalkeeper Teitelbaum. As the Tigers with the ride trying to slow up this Drexel offense that has come on here in the last half of the first quarter, in their first possession of the second quarter, and a bad pass by Farrell over everybody's head out of bounds. And those are the kind of turnovers that make coaches lose their hair.
Yeah, you got to give Towson a lot of credit. They did a nice job of hustling through the ride there, but Farrell, he got over the midline. He's got to get it in the box was the issue there, and he just tries to throw a bit of a Hail Mary, and there was no one there to catch it. A lot of times when you have Canadians, you can just throw the ball up and hope for the best, and usually they go up and get it. So I think knowing that he had Bowering down there and Marshall King down there, you figure one of those guys would materialize and snag that.
And Coach Nadlin calling a timeout here for the Tigers with 12:58 to go in the second quarter, and Towson on top by a 4-3 count. As we take a look at the 3 goals by Marshall King. As you said, Mitch, the first 2, they were duplicates of each other.
Yeah, Marshall King might need to paint little footprints over there on that right side of the cage where he wants to set his feet, because that seems to be a hot spot for him. Canadian player, very one-handed, but when you can do things really well with one hand, who needs to, right? So
right.
His brother Jesse King, outstanding left-handed player from Ohio State, now with the Georgia Swarm. They got a big matchup in the NLL coming up this weekend. But obviously the right-handed complement to Jesse, his brother Marshall here doing everything from the right side of the cage.
So the Tigers leading Drexel 4-3. Everybody in action tonight in the CAA. Kind of rare that you have all 3 conference games being played on a Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night lights. They figured 60 degrees, might be snow tomorrow. Let's get them all in tonight.
Right. And as we take a look at the scoreboard, Delaware is beating UMass 4-1 in the second quarter in Newark, and Hofstra and Fairfield are tied up at 1 in the second quarter. A couple of other games going on. UMBC leading #1 Albany 4-2 in the second quarter, and Denver crushing Villanova and Philadelphia 9-3 in the second quarter.
Some big matchups there for a Friday night, as you mentioned. Some CAA matchups, some non-CAA matchups. But what an upset that would be if Albany lost that game.
Well, UMBC's basketball team beat a number 1 seed. Why not the lacrosse team beating the #1 team in the country?
Absolutely.
So Towson with the ball as Jake McLean feeds it over on the right side, and they'll get it back behind to Sunday, who's moved from midfield to attack tonight. Back out to McLean, who bounces one wide, and Towson backing it up.
Towson putting the pressure on. Drexel seems to have packed their defense even in tighter.
Grant Maloof with a crossfield pass to Severo, who shoots, and he whistles one home to make it 5-3 Towson. And for Severo, that's his 4th goal of the season.
Severo, great job there. Good skip pass, goes through the defense. He takes that hitch step, freezing his defender for a second, runs across the top of the cage, and then just absolute blistering shot for Severo there.
So it's been a streaky game here, Mitch. Towson scores the first 3 goals. Drexel answers with 3 in a row, and now Towson with 2 in a row to take a 5-3 lead.
Yeah, it's definitely been the tale of 2 halves in each quarter already, and so we saw that. We'll see if Drexel has the same ability to bounce back, and certainly going to look to Marshall King to lead that charge with 3 goals already, but all their other stars, they have so many other players that you mentioned. You mentioned guys like Matt Varian and Reed Bowering, each 20-goal scorers, so look for them to get involved. But again, they have to get the ball on offense to make that happen.
Towson wins the face-off, so the face-offs are now even at 5 apiece.
And Alex Woodall in there that time.
Yep.
Flips the ball over to no one, trying to keep it in bounds, and Drexel picks it up on the rebound.
That's a problem that Woodall has had all season long with the turnovers, as Drexel will try to clear. Last time they could not clear. This time they work it down into the attack zone as they get it behind the cage to Matt Varian. He's been quiet. Both of their 20-goal scorers have been quiet, as Marshall King has scored all 3.
Yeah, both those guys are dodgers and initiators. Bowering, also Canadian, a little bit more of a, let's call it an unusual. Coach Volker said he doesn't always make it look pretty, but he's very effective. But then Varian, more of an initiator, so that's hard to do against a zone, which is Towson defense continues to drop back into. So it's going to be tough for him to not be able to dodge one-on-one, and that might be part of Coach Nadlin's idea in dropping in that zone is frustrate their goal scorers.
And now a flag out near midfield.
Look to be an interference call.
Drexel penalty on number 43, Sean Quinn, 30 seconds.
So Drexel will be a man down for 30 seconds.
They called it delay of game, and you know what happened is the ball rolled over the midline, which would be a change of possession, and in
they
an
flipped
attempt to flick it to keep it on sides, the ball went way out of bounds. Now that seems like that's part of the play. You're trying to make a play on the ball. To call a delay of game for that's a tough one.
And that's Sean Quinn with the tough call. As Towson.
And I understand if the play is dead and it's clearly over the midline, but that was about as close as it gets to the midline. So if I'm Sean Quinn, I'm saying, what the heck?
Just
I'm
trying to make a play, right?
I'm trying to make a play on the ball here.
Chetner feeds over to Maloof, who shoots, and it's deflected in front as now Severo fires one that's also deflected, and a shot taken in front by Towson's Jafrida, who's wide, and Drexel kills the penalty.
That went directly into Matt Klinga's ear hole, that first shot. Here they see a couple rebound opportunities, and Jafrida had a nice look at it, but you can see Klinga's right there holding his ear. I think he took a shot right in the ear, and those hurt. Those sting and sometimes rattle your brain a little bit as well.
You've been there?
Oh, I've been there far too many times. And they always tell you got to face the ball because then it doesn't hurt as much, but that's very hard to do.
Sunday gets it out top as he works it to Monahan, who now Towson in danger of losing it again, but Sunday comes away with it. 5-3 Towson with 10:10 to go in the first half. Maloof, another shot deflected in front. That looked like Pat Kiernan took that one.
No one seems to be rubbing any ears or body parts, so they're wherever that hit, hopefully it hit some pads.
But the Tigers get the rebound as they'll work it out front to Chetner, who can't handle the pass cleanly and runs it down. So this is a game, again, where Towson scores 3, Drexel scores 3. Now Towson with 2, looking for their third straight. Both goalkeepers each with just 1 save so far, and it's still 1 as Timmy Monahan sticks it in the same spot, top right, that Marshall King scored all 3 of his Drexel goals. And now it's 6-3 Towson as Monahan comes up with his 11th goal of the year.
And Monahan just driving hard to the middle, absorbs a check there from Jake Kiernan, runs through the check and gets to the middle of the field. And that's what you teach offensive players is drive. Instead of running away from checks, that's when they become more effective. You want to drive right at that defensive player, right towards his stick head. He does a nice job, gets his hands to the middle, and then just lets one go low to high. And it looks like Craig Teitelbaum is not tracking the ball well, but at the same time, Drexel's giving up shots that you don't want your goalie to see, 8-10 yards out.
And now Coita with a fast break feeds it down the right side, but the Towson defense gets back, and Bowering didn't have a chance to go towards the goal. If form holds, Drexel will score the next 3 goals.
Yeah, this is going to be. Is this going to be a repeat every quarter? Just 3 up, 3 back.
So the Dragons work it out top.
Towson, they're still in that zone. They've got both their short sticks down low, so those short sticks kind of play a dual role, hugging the pipes and covering the crease and the backside. Looking to try to stay in your area as much as possible in a zone and do as little rotation as possible.
Dragons quickly working it around, and a shot taken by Manganello, but it's high. The Dragons backing it up, though.
You asked earlier, how do you beat a zone? Those rotations that we saw Towson. Wow. What a goal.
And there you go.
Matthew Varian finally gets on the board, and he initiated. You know what? He just said, all right, I'm going to do this. You're not going to let me dodge. I'm just going to beat my short stick matchup one-on-one, and I don't even know how that went in. He bodies up his man, just turns and fires, and it just snuck 5-hole. Well, your prediction, I think, might be accurate. Here comes Drexel charging back.
6-4 with 8:34 to go here in the first half of play. So the Dragons answering back as we get set for another faceoff. And this one a struggle that Woodall had lost. And Drexel coming away with a ground ball. As the Dragons will come down and feed it up top to Reed Bowering.
And with this zone, you have all 3 of your long poles up top, so we haven't seen any production from the Drexel midfield, but that's to be expected. And I would not be surprised if they continue to attack the short sticks, knowing that their attackmen are able to beat those matchups.
King looking for his 4th and perched there on the left side where he scored 2 of his 3 earlier goals. Fires this one high, and Drexel will keep it. As the Dragons look more aggressive here, Mitch.
Yeah, they're certainly attacking the gaps of the zone, dodging a little bit harder, and then trying to find that either that throwback or that pass forward to get that defense spinning. But like you said, they're stepping into the gaps and just letting it fly now.
Manganello with that shot that was backed up by Drexel, and now Towson's Jimmy Wilkerson going to get hit with a penalty.
I think Varian's found his confidence and feels like that might be a weak point, challenging that short stick matchup. As he got the goal last time, now he's drawn a flag, so certainly a matchup to look for. And I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Nadlin either shifts away from the zone or looks to tweak it a bit here, with Varian really starting to challenge that corner.
And Varian throws a pass that gets deflected. This ball going to head to the sideline. Drexel knows they have a penalty in their back pocket as the ball goes out of bounds. And we will have the penalty enforced here.
Just a good physical play. Varian drops his shoulder, drives in there.
Towson penalty on number 36, Jimmy Wilkerson.
So Jimmy Wilkerson heading to the penalty box.
Drexel on man advantage.
Wilkerson didn't want to make the same mistake on the play that Varian scored, so he really tries to get him a hard drive and just slides up that shoulder and into the neck and the shoulder. That's one where you just got to really sit down in the chair, play low defense, and do everything you can to not let him body you up.
Second EMO of the night for Drexel. They're 0 for 1 so far, but this penalty a minute where the earlier one was 30 seconds. Again, Towson's extra man defense has not been very good this year. They feed down low, shot taken by Bowering that's knocked away, and Zach Goodrich gets hammered in the call against the Dragons, so Towson will get the ball back and try to kill the final 32 seconds of this penalty.
Bro, I think that Jesse King, the third Jesse King goal, was man up, if I'm not mistaken. It may have
Marshall
been.
King, yeah.
I'm sorry, Marshall
okay.
King. It may have been as the clock expired, but he definitely took advantage of that 3v3 because it was a 30-second penalty. It might have been as the Towson player was running out of the box. So the man down unit might have gotten away with one there.
And now Towson turns it over as they cannot get the clear.
Mentioned turnovers earlier. This is unforced turnovers are ones that, like you said, make you go crazy if you're a coach. We've seen a few of those here, but both teams really riding hard, and that's forced these clearing turnovers because the midfielders are doing such a nice job of stepping into those lanes.
And you are correct. King's goal did come. The last goal did come in the final second of that penalty situation. Towson steals it. They come down, and Phil Wise looking like he wanted to shoot before he had the ball, and a timeout called by Sean Nadlin as the teams are at even strength with 5:52 to go here in the half.
Phil Wise caught that, but I think that was actually intended for Brendan Sunday, who was on the backside wide open. And I don't, Wise got caught up and thrown down. I think if he had let that go, that might have been an easy dunk.
There's the Brendan Sunday goal that gave Towson the lead again. And then out top, Matt Severo firing one home.
Both of those coming right from in front of the cage. So again, a third right from in front of the cage. So we mentioned it being tough to track that for a goalie, but it's also hard because you don't know where the slide's coming from. The shooters can shoot on either side of the net. You can't cut off your ankles if he's right in the dead center of the field. So no matter what, you don't want to see a guy with his feet set without somebody on his hands, and to have him do that right in the middle of the field is really a tough position to put your goalie in.
Well, Drexel has only put 5 shots on goal, and 4 of them have gone in. Towson has only put 7 shots on goal. 6 of them have gone in. So each goalkeeper with just 1 save here. We've only got 5:52 to go in the half. How often do you see a game where you've played, 24 minutes of lacrosse and each team's only got 1 save?
Yeah, the slow pace of this game, I think the fact that it's so settled down, they're really waiting to find the right shot. And that says both credit to the defense and also credit to the offense for being a little bit more selective on their shooting. And we've seen, it looks like Drexel has started to try to challenge it a little bit more and let the ball fly a little bit more on the outside. But both teams have had a lot of inside looks that they have either dropped or have gotten checked out of their sticks. So if they're able to catch and capitalize on those inside looks, I think you're going to see an even higher scoring game with even, not that many more shots.
So Towson with the ball. They are out of timeouts here in the first half. Drexel has one left. As Towson gets it up top to Severo, who comes down and he scores his second goal of the night to give Towson a 7-4 lead. And for Severo, that is goal number 5 on the year, as his playing time has increased over the last couple of weeks.
And Severo just, again, driving through a check. The slide comes, but it's a little bit too late. Severo is one of those guys that Coach Nadalin earlier, when I spoke with him, he said he's a guy that is going to have to step up for us, and he's clearly doing it tonight. This second quarter, he's already got 2 goals. Great job driving through, getting his hands free, and just, like I said, letting that fly, really putting a lot into it from Easton, Maryland, out on the beautiful Eastern Shore.
Towson's had a lot of success with players from the Eastern Shore of late. Zach Goodrich, another one of those Eastern Shore kids.
An area that wasn't huge when I was here at Savannah Park in terms of lacrosse, but certainly developing more and more and getting great talent out of there now.
Talent from everywhere these days, and coming down, shooting, and taking a shot point blank. Luke Hurley, and Shane Brennan comes up with his second save of the evening.
And that's a big save for Brennan. One-on-one, facing down, steps up, uses his body to block that.
So Towson will try to clear, leading 7-4 with 5 minutes to go in the half. And last week both of these teams losing in their CAA openers, as Zach Goodrich gets the long pass over midfield. Drexel, an 11-10 loser to UMass, a game in which they led late, and UMass came back to steal a victory in Philadelphia. And Towson basically just being outplayed over the final 30 minutes big time by Hofstra, as they lost to the Pride 9-3. Towson never got the offense going last week. As Severo looking for the hat trick, and he's got it. So each team with a player with a hat trick. Severo for Towson, King for Drexel. But for the Tigers, they take their biggest lead of the game, 8-4, with 4:29 to go here in this first half.
And Severo, nothing special about that. He has a short stick matchup, recognizes it again, and last time he did it against a pole, so he said, you know what, I'll do it against a shorty. And again, the slide comes, but the slide's too late. You can see the Drexel defensemen, they're all talking right now. And the big thing there is when that happens, you got to bring it in, dictate who should have gone, when should you go, and what are we going to do right next time. And that's something that with a couple young players, a senior is going to have to step up and guide them in the right direction. And they have that in Jack Farrell, so hopefully he's getting those guys on the same page and making sure that they're getting that slide next time.
The other thing that we're seeing, and there's a flag, as I guess that's the third violation against Towson in this half. No, it's going to go against Drexel.
That's Drexel's first penalty of the game. I'm not sure what happened there. It may have been unsportsmanlike. It looked like there was some jawing going back and forth, but we'll see what the ref calls here.
Towson with the 8 goals, and if I'm not mistaken, Mitch, I think all of them, or at least 7 of them, have been high on Teitelbaum. So maybe Towson saw something in looking at the video from prior games and said, go high on this guy.
Yeah, the only inside shot they had was a one-on-one, and where he put it high to low. But every other thing, like you said, have been high and across the body. So that pulling it from all the way from the far side, running down the alley, shooting to the left side. If you're coming up the left side, shooting to the right. They've done a really nice job of really snapping that. But with their dodges, being able to get to the middle, that gives you that freedom to be able to pick your spots high.
Towson shoots low this time, and Teitelbaum makes the save. The ball bounces out. Drexel gets it, and they'll try to kill the final couple of seconds of this penalty that went against Jimmy Coita. So Towson unable to do anything on their extra man here. 3:45 remaining in the first half with Towson on top of the Dragons 8-4 at Johnny Unitas Stadium in Towson, Maryland on a beautiful Friday, April night. Temperatures in the low 60s. Much different than what we expected. Now coming in, and a flag goes down against Towson. As I think it was Chad Patterson that time.
Yeah, we're going to see here Chad Patterson. It looked like he was trying to get the defense into a different setup. I'm guessing he might have been trying to get the team into a zone. He was sliding upfield, I think, to try to get into his spot in the zone. Recognized that Varian was slipping behind him. Varian does a nice job of tucking his stick and just to, he was basically give up a goal or checking from behind.
Right.
He went with a check from behind option.
So Patterson heads to the penalty box, and Drexel will be a man up for 30 seconds.
And if you're Drexel, this is a must score here. They need to get back in this game. They need to get a goal here, both for the momentum factor and also to start capitalizing when they're not in this zone. Got an opportunity here to dodge a little bit. Obviously, you're man up, so you want to let the ball do the work.
Behind the cage, Charles Dumas. Penalty down to 10 seconds as the Dragons trying to set up for that shot. Feed down low, and it's tipped by Towson out of bounds with 1 second left on the penalty.
Looking for Dumas sneaking there on the backside. Great job by the Towson Tigers getting their sticks up in those lanes.
Get it up top to Marshall King, and Towson has killed the penalty. So Drexel down by 4 with 2:45 to go, but they still have the possession and a chance to cut it to 3. Towson led 6-3. Drexel cut it to 6-4, and then the Tigers bounced back with 2 goals to take the biggest lead of the game. As they get it up top to O'Donnell. O'Donnell passes over to his left, work it on the far side. As the Dragons with one of their longer possessions of the night.
Towson is back in the zone, but it looks like they've shifted Goodrich up to the wing, and I think that's ultimately to bring Calvin Livingston down to the corner, so that way when Varian challenges, it's Livingston stepping up to him, and that might have been the situation that the Patterson was looking to make happen when he got that penalty last possession.
And there goes another flag. This one going to go against Kobe Smith, I believe. As the Dragons, O'Donnell up top. Shot taken and saved by Shane Brennan. Now the penalty will be enforced with 1:48 remaining in this first half. So a lot of flags here this evening.
Yeah, not necessarily I would say a highly physical game, but they're taking penalties and little holds and little pushes here and there. But I wouldn't call this a chippy game by any means, but a lot of flags have flown. Indeed, a couple on the face-off, a couple slashes and cross-checks. So little one-on-one matchups are getting beaten. When players are getting beat, instead of letting that happen, they're resorting to little over aggressive checks or a little bit of a hold or a foul.
Dragons work it up top, up for a minute, feed down low, and a shot taken there by McClellan, and it's high. So Drexel will put it back into play. Look for Bowering, who's been very quiet so far here tonight. Came in with 20 goals, and now a pass that goes astray, moving up towards midfield and goes over midfield and out of bounds. And this will go over to Towson, I believe. Nope, they're going to say tipped by the Tigers, and we'll go back over to Drexel with 33 seconds left on the penalty. Now the officials are talking about it.
I didn't think that got tipped. It was
I didn't either.
I don't know that pass ever had a chance. It looked like it might have slipped out of his stick, or he tried to pull it back because it came sailing out. There was no one standing where the pass ended up. So if it got tipped, it was early on. We'll see what the refs say here.
They're giving it to Drexel.
So someone saw it go off a white stick there.
And the Towson sideline not happy about that call.
And looking back on the replay, it does look like there was a little bit of a piece there. Calvin Livingston, I think, redirected that pass, but I still think that was going to nobody if he hadn't touched it.
So Drexel gets it to Varian behind the cage, feeds it up top as they work it to King. King feeds over to his right, down the right side to Bowering. And Bowering gets it back over to Varian, feed out on the left side, and a shot deflected by Towson's Chad Patterson that goes out of bounds. 10 seconds left on the penalty. 58 seconds left in the quarter. As Drexel works it back up top to Marshall King.
Drexel hasn't done anything too crazy on the man up. They've rotated into a couple guys into the crease.
Teams at even strength. There's a shot taken by McClellan and a nice save by Shane Brennan with 35 seconds left in the half, and Towson going to try to make it a 5-goal game as Zach Goodrich comes streaking down.
Shane Brennan's made a couple big saves here in the last minute or two that he's going to feel really strong going back into the second, coming back out for the second half.
Chetner on the far side, work it up top with 15 seconds to go here in this first half. As they work it up top, and now stolen away by Drexel with 2 seconds left. Wind and a shot at the head of Shane Brennan, who makes the save, and the half comes to an end.
Goodrich with a low to high bouncer, bounce shot that went off the crossbar there.
So the Tigers will go into halftime leading this game 8-4. And that's our score here from Towson. Mitch and I will be back with the second half in just a few minutes. But for now, we send you back to the LSN Broadcast Center for the Lacrosse Now halftime show. Drexel here 8-4 as we get set for the second half of play at Johnny Unitas Stadium here in Towson, Maryland. And Mitch, we had 2 hat tricks in the first half. First, we see King from Drexel, who had the first 3 goals of the game for the Dragons.
Yeah, Jesse King was able to get his hands free 3 times, all 3 on that same, or 2 on the same spot, 1 right around the edge of the goal. And then Matt Severo just coming alive, doing a nice job sweeping there, and then here 2 almost identical alley dodges, first against a pole, and then second against a short stick, is able to dominate his matchup, get his hands free, and just lets him fly. So obviously something that they're going to look to, and Coach Natlin talked about, he can do it from his left too.
Well, always good to be ambidextrous.
As a midfielder, it's crucial. And with so many more Canadians in the game, at attack, I think you can get away with having one hand. But when it comes to being a midfielder, if you want to be a true threat, unless you're just an inside finisher, you got to be able to have that ability to break an a defensive player down on either side of the ball.
Everybody from the CAA in action tonight. Delaware is leading UMass 5-2 as they start the third quarter up in Newark, Delaware. And Hofstra at home against Fairfield, and they lead the Stags 3-2 heading into the third quarter. But the game that is sending shockwaves all over the lacrosse world here tonight is that UMBC over in Catonsville, Maryland, beating number 1 Albany 8-2 in the second quarter. But the Great Danes are a very, very explosive team, and with, maybe the best face-off man next to Trevor Baptiste in the country, or maybe even better than Trevor, they've got a shot to make a big run.
Yeah, I'm sure people are eager to see that matchup, hopefully in the playoffs between TD Ireland and Trevor Baptiste. But Albany Great Danes without Connor Fields this game, that was a big storyline heading into it. So clearly they've been hurting without him. He's been in a bit of a limited role the last few weeks, but they've still been able to use those face-off possessions to their advantage. So it'll be curious to see if the Retrievers can hang on, much like they did against the Virginia Cavaliers in the basketball tournament a few weeks ago.
That's right. All right, we are set to go here for the third quarter as Woodall and Coita come out to face off. Towson with the white tops, the Dragons with the dark blue tops. As we are underway in the third quarter, Towson leading 8-4. And coming up with it, Kobe Smith, the freshman long stickman for the Tigers, who has really been a breath of fresh air for Towson this year.
Nice job there, running through some checks and some pressure and getting the ball to his offense. Let them continue to feel it. They were on a run of a couple goals in a row. Last time Drexel scored was early in the second quarter, so it's been a bit of a drought here for the Dragons, and Towson certainly wants to keep the momentum going.
Tigers working it to Phil Wise behind the cage in the first half. Towson out shooting Drexel 19-17. Saves 5 for Brennan, just 2 for Teitelbaum, who was still in there in the cage for the Dragons as Jake McLean brings it down for Towson as they work the ball around here on the first possession of the second half. Severo.
Severo, they slide to Severo early, smartly after scoring the last 3.
And there's a shot from outside by Jake McLean, and he bounces it past Teitelbaum. And it's 9-4 in favor of Towson. And for the Tigers, Jake McLean, that is goal number 4 on the year.
That's exactly what you want if you're Sean Nadel, and you could hear the frustration in Coach Volker's voice as he talked about his displeasure with both his offense and his defense, and that was one where it looked like they were set back up and then they just weren't ready to slide again, and that's the key for any defensive team. Is to be able to slide once is great, but you got to be able to get matched back up, have that slide ready to go again, and then slide and recover again. So clearly they got the memo about getting that slide right away to Matt Severo, but weren't ready on that second dodge.
And this time the faceoff is controlled by the Dragons as Luke Hurley comes up with it for Drexel. He's trying to go through a double team, and Zach Goodrich bumping him around. And finally he flips it over to his right and finds his teammate Will Manganello, and Manganello brings it down into the attack zone, and a flag goes down as he got smacked in the head.
And Drexel was just completely surrounded, one player each time, by Towson Tigers, and finally they were able to run into a slash or a check that didn't hit their hands but hit their helmet. So they'll go man up here for a minute if they don't score right now.
So Drexel working it around. Dragons know that they will have that penalty if they can't score here. Manganello comes down the left, and he'll shoot, and a save made by Brennan, and now the penalty will be enforced.
And Sparrow looks like, at least in that set, maybe it was because they had that flag down, but Towson has shifted to man-to-man coverage there. So different look. It worked in the first half. Coach Nadalin trying something new, but it'll be interesting to see what they do coming out of this extra man opportunity, because they had so much success with the zone. You got to imagine that the chess game, the mental chess game going on behind closed doors between Coach Volker and Coach Nadalin is going to be something that comes into play in the second half.
In the first half, Drexel was 1 of 4 in extra mans. They're up for a minute here, and they need to get something going. 12:30 to go in the third quarter. They're trailing 8-4 as O'Donnell sends it up the left side, gets it to Marshall King. King feeds outside, back up top, down the right as they'll work it to
big save.
Varian, and Brandon makes a save, makes another one, and now another shot taken as he's getting peppered, but coming up with some big saves. Now, we talked about Teitelbaum. Brennan is a kid who, against Hopkins in the first game of the season, was yanked in the first half because he was totally ineffective. And then in week 2 against Mount St. Mary's, started again and was just as bad. And it wasn't until the Tigers played Loyola back on February 28th in Game 4 that he started to find his sea legs, and the freshman has really played much better.
And it's almost similar to the story of this game. He hadn't had too many saves early in the game, and now he's started to really step up and make some big saves. Those last 2 were, that first save was point blank as a player wrapped around, and then able to get all the way across the goal to the rebound on the other side. So nice job there and sparking the defense. So Towson's got to feel good about their prospects now. Their defense is starting to click. Their offense was really feeling it towards the end of the half, and then came out firing on the quarter. They kill this penalty, and now they're rolling again.
Towson works it out front to Beecham. Over on the far side, they'll get it to Monahan. As Towson looking to add to this 5-goal lead. Again, last week they scored just 3 against Hofstra. Work it to Wise, and Wise shoots it just wide, and Drexel will try to clear. As the Dragons, Colin Mailman gets it over midfield. Drexel was just 5 of 7 on clears in the first half. And now a whistle against the Dragons, and Towson will get it back.
They stepped off sides there, I believe. Just a lack in mental judgment there, which, talking to Coach Volker, you always talk to a coach who's down at halftime. They put in their adjustments, but you could sense the frustration because I think he felt like the mental lapses were there. And that's as a coach, that's hard because you feel like you've prepared so long for so many days, and those are the things that you really can't control. You got to rely on your guys to come out focused, to come out playing hard. And so when you feel like they're not doing that, that can be really frustrating as a coach.
Yeah, you can deal with the physical mistakes. It's the mental ones that drive you crazy.
Exactly. It's the pieces that you've spent so much time trying to prepare the boys for, and that's where you really feel like that's something maybe you could have done differently, or why isn't it working?
Feed over to Monahan on the left as he'll get it in front, and a nice play made there by the Drexel defense. And it looks like Towson in the crease, and Drexel will get it.
Jafrida went for the little jump shot there. I think Jafrida, if he had caught the ball inside every time, he'd have 5 or 6 goals right now. He's had a few that have tipped off his stick or been checked away, but certainly has been open quite a bit on the inside, and that probably is part of Coach Volker's frustration right now. Is why is he getting so open inside? Why are we not able to slide and cover up at the same time?
Jafrida was not seeing much playing time earlier in the year, but again, Towson's leading goal scorer, John Mazza, out tonight due to a team violation, missing his 2nd straight game. So that gives opportunities to other players.
And that's in both college and the pro game. The college, you have the graduation of seniors, but sometimes you got to take advantage of those chances.
Well, taking advantage of a chance there is Matt Varian as he sticks his 2nd goal home of the night. And Drexel's lead, or Towson's lead, cut to 9-5 by the Dragons with 8:55 to go here in the 3rd quarter.
And a great skip pass there by Marshall King. Great job of dodging down the alley. Manganiello steps away, puts it up to Marshall King. He skips down the backside. And just really good ball movement. When you attack and draw a slide, if you're able to quickly move that ball from where the slide is all the way to the backside, that's when those open looks happen. And great job. This is what Coach Volker was looking for: is dodge hard, draw a slide, move the ball once, twice, 3 times, and then get it to the open shot. That's what you want on your offense to make the Towson defense work.
So both teams with a goal here in the first 6 minutes and 5 seconds of the 3rd quarter. 9-5 in favor of Towson.
And that was about, I would say, probably about 12 to 15 minutes between the last 2 Drexel goals here. So they want to try to build some momentum offensively with either another good look or at least settling it down on offense.
This faceoff finally won by Towson as Goodrich comes up with a ground ball. Drexel now with a 9-8 lead in faceoffs tonight, which is a little surprising looking at the numbers coming in.
Yeah, it's been a back and forth affair, and definitely a lot of grinding going on between the faceoff men. The first quarter was a bit of a feeling out process where they were jumping on each side, but now they've started to figure each other out, and it's turned into really 50-50 3v3 ground balls right now, and it's made it anybody's game, between the lines at least.
Working out to Jake McLean. McLean comes down the left, stops, throws it up top, gets it to Severo, and a shot taken on the right there by Grant Maloof, which is high. Maloof down from kind of near your neck of the woods, Davidsonville.
Getting down into Anne Arundel County, just about Anne Arundel County down there.
As Maloof will send it back behind the cage. Feed in front that goes astray. Ball rolling towards the Drexel sideline, but looked like it was going to be run down by Severo. Now all of a sudden Drexel there, but Towson comes away with it as Sunday feeds it quickly to Wise. I'll tell you what we haven't had tonight. We haven't had a shot clock all night.
No, that's a great point. Both teams have been deliberate with their offense, but they haven't been afraid to let it fly when they think they have a good look.
And the officials have given them some time. McLean feeds over to the left. In front to Wise.
Spiro, you and I had this debate before the game. Should there be a shot clock at the ref's discretion, or should it be a set shot clock when either possession is gained, like in the MLL, or when you cross half? And you can argue it all day and all night, but ultimately it's going to come down to what is going to make the game more exciting for the fans, what's going to make the game more fun. And I personally, I'm a 90-second shot clock guy. I think once you get possession, you should have 90 seconds to get your offense on and be able to run. But might see a lot more zone is one of those counterpoints to that argument.
Well, the Dragons excited because Towson just turned it over again. In the first half, Towson with just 5 to Drexel's 8 turnovers. So the Dragons going to set up, try to cut it to a 3-goal game with 6:25 to go here in the third quarter. Again, both teams with 1 goal here in the third period of play after Towson had an 8-4 halftime lead. We were tied at 3 at the end of the first quarter. Shot taken high there by Will Manganello. Manganello, a veteran of this team. He's played a lot of minutes for this Dragon Ball Club over the last 4 years. And coming up the left side was Varian, and he got knocked down. The ball came loose, and Towson comes away with it.
And we've seen Towson switch over to that zone. I'm sorry, switch away from that zone into the man-on-man. And now they're able to draw Drexel off sides here on the clear, so they'll be man up with an opportunity after getting a nice stop one-on-one against Varian.
So Towson probably going to be a little deliberate here, knowing they've got the penalty coming.
Especially with that lead. No
Right.
need to rush things here.
Right.
Take some seconds off the clock and get the bonus.
And now Chetner takes a shot that was about 6 yards wide.
He might have been on goal line extended and somehow still put that ball behind the goal.
And the penalty now will be enforced against the Dragons. 1 minute penalty against Drexel. So Towson started from the bottom left corner.
This is only Towson's second extra man opportunity in the game here.
Third.
Third.
0 for 2 so far. So they haven't been able to knock it home, and they haven't been a good extra man team. Just 31% on the year. Drexel has been pretty good in extra man defensively, as they give up just 31% of their opponent's opportunities. So Towson working it around. Flip it out. Shot taken by Maloof, deflected in front. Ball loose. Maloof tries to scoop it home, but the ball goes out of bounds, and Drexel was backing it up. So the Dragons will have a chance to kill the final few seconds of this penalty.
Maloof with a one-handed underhand shovel. He was going for the Sports Center goal there. That would have been nice, but great job for the Drexel defense of battening down the hatches there.
Teitelbaum comes all the way out to midfield to pass it, and then the Tigers steal it away, but Teitelbaum has enough time to run back into the cage. That could have been a dangerous situation with your goalie out at midfield.
Yeah, clearing has been sloppy by both of these teams. Turnovers an element we talked about being important in the game, and the clearing game has certainly been one of those areas where that has challenged both teams. And can't take away credit for both teams riding really hard, but ultimately clearing is all about taking your time, finding the open man, and making crisp passes, and that's something that's plagued both of these teams in a couple of their late losses.
They work it out top to Chetner. Chetner will take it to the midfield circle. Back over on the left to Beecham. As we're down to 4 minutes to go here in the third quarter of play, with Towson leading Drexel 9-4. And a bad pass by Towson that goes over the head of Phil Wise and out of bounds, and another sloppy turnover that gives Drexel another opportunity to make it a 3-goal game.
Yeah, just as I'm talking about failed clears being the issue, they have an unforced turnover. Nice job by the defensive midfielder lifting that, dodging Mitty's hands, but even still, he had the time to take that extra step, get his hands up and away from his body, and take that throw. So those are the fundamental things that, as a coach, you're smacking your head on the sideline saying, hey, we work on this in practice. We need to put that into effect in games.
In the last couple of years, Towson's been one of the best teams in the nation in fewest turnovers per game, but this year, one of the worst teams in the nation in turnovers per game.
And part of that, Spiro, has to do with the age.
Sure.
These are young players, and not only is it difficult to make that without the experience, but also the pressure of being in these big games. It's a huge CAA game that each team really needs to win. Sometimes that can get to these young guys who haven't had that experience.
Bowering, who's been shut out tonight, has it, feeds in front, behind the back, shot taken there by McClellan.
That was a save of the game right there by Shane Brennan. That was painted for that bottom left corner with an unbelievable behind the back. And And Shane did a nice job of getting a stick over there and making a huge save. Here we see good dodge. Looks up, gets his hands free, or I'm sorry, gets his head up, finds a cutter behind the back, and what a, I don't know if it was his stick or his foot, but great job getting across, getting in front of that.
So the Dragons keeping the possession. And another high pass that Manganello had to go up to get. As both teams have thrown some ugly passes here tonight.
Yeah, and that's something that you got to clean up if you want to have a chance at the postseason. You look at teams in the playoffs, and they are, by that time in May, they are just zipping the ball around, and they're not making those mistakes.
Right. Feed down low, and a shot and a score as Bowering finally gets on the board. And that was a beautiful pass to set Reed Bowering up for his first goal of the evening.
Good job of working the ball around. Marshall King with a little bit of a no look there, actually. Looked over to his right. You can see he looks over to his right and then throws the ball back to his left. Great handle inside by Reed Bowering. Canadian to Canadian connection, both two West Coast Canadian guys, Victoria, BC, and Coquitlam, BC. So they can read each other. Nice job of finding that, handling it, turn around, and firing it.
And how about Marshall King? He scores the first 3 Drexel goals of the game. I think he's now assisted the last 2.
Yeah, that attack unit has led the way here for this Drexel Dragons and kept them in this game, frankly. If they can get some contribution from the midfielders, they're going to be a dangerous group here coming down the stretch.
And the Dragons win the faceoff, so they're down 3 with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter and a chance to cut it to 2. As both of these teams desperately want this victory to get to 500 in CAA play. Because again, at the end of the year, you've got 6 teams in the league, but only the top 4 get to play in the CAA tournament.
And with the way this season's going and so many upsets, these automatic qualifiers are going to be crucial for teams like this that are on the bubble with these 3-6 and 4-5 records. You got to start winning your conference games and then have a chance at winning your conference championships, or at least being in the finals where you're getting high quality games.
Stansfield takes a shot that goes wide to the left as Drexel will set up again with 1:15 to go. Another shot. This one deflected, goes out of bounds.
Coach Nadalin is clearly saying, I liked what we were doing better in the first half. He's gone back into that zone as Goodrich has swung back down to that back pipe, and both of their shorties are on the back side.
Well, Drexel has actually won this third quarter so far, 2-1 as far as scoring goes. Towson led 8-4 at halftime. King throws it out top, work it on the far side. And they'll get it back behind the cage to Varian.
Jimmy Wilkerson's the other short stick on the pipe there. It looks like they're trying to get that Goodrich matchup on Varian.
They've got it. Varian bounces it down to O'Donnell. Throws it back to Varian. Up top, 42 seconds left in the quarter. Ball now loose, rolling around. And this ground ball grabbed by the Tigers, Chad Patterson. As he dodges players and turns and throws it backwards. The Tigers will try to clear with 25 seconds to go in the quarter.
Calvin Livingston was streaking upfield. Patterson couldn't get his hands free long enough, but if he had seen Calvin Livingston, there was no one within 20 yards of him, he would have been gone.
Wind up in a shot taken by Jake McLean from outside. Well, last week, Cal Livingston twice against Hofstra came down with opportunities to score. Both the first time threw a bad pass, and the second time did hit a man for a goal. 5 seconds left in the quarter.
Spiro's a D guy, I can tell you. Once you cross that half field line, everything goes black. You don't know what happens. You just hope for the best.
And another shot taken, this time by Brendan Sunday, and it goes out of bounds with 0.4 of a second remaining in this quarter.
Maybe that's just me, though. I think there's some guys that do a good job, but I'm not one of them.
All right, we have played 45 minutes. Our score here at Towson, it is the Tigers 9, the Dragons 6. Towson going to try to hang on to the fourth. Drexel going to try to get the comeback. As we'll come back for our final 15 minutes. We get set for the fourth quarter here at Johnny Unitas Stadium, where the Tigers of Towson are leading Drexel by a 9-6 score. And we'll be back with another CAA Women's Game of the Week on Sunday when the defending conference champion James Madison hosts Drexel. Coverage gets underway with the Lacrosse Now pregame show at 11:30 Sunday morning, only on the LAC Sports Network. Drexel wins the faceoff. So the Dragons will set up here, trying to cut it to 2. 2 other games going on in the CAA tonight, and they are both tight, as Delaware leads UMass 6-4 in the third quarter. Shot taken there by Drexel's Marshall King, which is high, and Hofstra clinging to a 4-3 lead on Fairfield in the fourth quarter. That Hofstra defense, Mitch, is as good as any in the country.
And backed by an incredible goalkeeper in Concannon, so they've got a strong back end. And a lot of the games that I've seen with Hofstra, they've been low-scoring affairs because of that. Their offense is, they've got some very talented offensive players, but certainly look to wear teams down in defensive battles.
They get the victory there tonight. They'll be 2-0, and they will be the favorite to win the conference and host the tournament. As Nick Fox trying to get away, but he cannot get away from Zach Goodrich and Gray Bowden. There's a shot taken, and another kick save made by Brennan.
Varian with a nice turnaround shot there, and Brennan, I think, guessed the wrong direction with his stick, but did a nice job of following with his body and got back with his right foot. He guessed left with his stick and then kicked right with his foot and did a nice job of staying on top of that one.
Marshall King a little slow getting up after that collision, but he's okay. King with goals and 2 assists tonight to lead the Dragons offensively.
Towson's back in their zone. They've got Goodrich at the top center of their zone, trying to create havoc up for their middies.
And Varian comes up the left side, and he shoots wide. And there was nobody back for Drexel in the time with 13:20 to go. You also think that Coach Nadlin may be going to that zone because he's got a 3-goal lead, and even if Drexel scores, it's going to take some time to do it.
I think that's absolutely part of it. And the other thing is, why go away from what has worked? You know, they were doing such a great job in that second quarter with only 1 goal being scored by Varian against a short stick, and they fixed that matchup and they weren't able to get anything going. So between killing the clock, like you mentioned, and doing a good job with what was working for him, I'm very unsurprised they've gone back to it. Now that last look that Varian had there, I just wish he would have taken one more step towards the goal because he had a look there.
Now the Tigers on offense, and they've only scored 1 goal here in the second half. They feed over on the right side, and a shot taken there by Maloof, and Teitelbaum with the save. And the goalie's starting to heat up a little bit here, Mitch. They were slow going early on. Remember, we had 5.5 minutes to go in the first half, and each only had 1 save, but now they're picking it up.
Yeah, and that's going to be crucial down the line, or I'm sorry, down the stretch of this game. You got to be able to rely on big saves from your goalie to have that confidence.
And there's a shot and a score by Cam Harris that I think Shane Brennan thought he had stopped.
Well, and that's right as I finished saying it, that's the save you got to rely on that your goalie's going to have. You know, you don't have to press out on a guy at 10, 12 yards, and it's a nice step down shot, but you feel like Brennan's in place for that. He's got a stick down. It just somehow sneaks under his stick, I think, and gets him. So that's one that he wants to have back. And defensively, you feel like, we did what we needed to do. We got to rely on our goalie to back us up there.
And now 9-7.
But that's
with
a huge goal.
12:16 to go.
Huge goal.
They've scored 3 straight after Towson took a 9-4 lead. Towson scored the first goal of the second half. Drexel scored the next 3, and now a big win by Koita. He comes down, he shoots and scores. So the face-off man coming up with his second goal of the year, and it's 9-8 with 12:11 to go.
And Koita with a power bouncer there. I think that might have been, based on his stick being all warped, and I don't know if that's where he meant to go, but Brennan definitely didn't expect that low to high bounce, and tracks it well low, but doesn't step out far enough, and it just sneaks onto that crossbar. Great job by Jim Koita there, getting his team going. Guy from the Bronx, New York, has trained with some of the best face-off training guys. Awesome to see his success. He has developed over the year, struggled early, and then has continued to get better throughout the year. So awesome to see his success going forward. And we've got a game here, 9-8.
We sure do. And Drexel has dominated the face-off circle, but this time Towson comes up with it. Kobe Smith going to come down, and he shoots and scores. The freshman long stick So that takes away some of the Drexel momentum as Towson goes back up to 10-8 with 3 minutes gone here in the fourth quarter. And Mitch, you said the first half was kind of slow moving and maybe a little dull, but not here in the fourth.
I was looking for some transition. Apparently we just had to wait till the end to get it. Nice job by Kobe Smith and your normal partner, Hunter Locke. He loves this kid, thinks he's a great player, has a huge future here at Towson, but we can see it there. He looks off that point man, almost doesn't quite fake, but just gives a little bit of a head fake, gives himself an alley down the middle, gets his hands free and shoots that. And for goalies, it's so hard to track a shot from a pole because it comes from that high angle coming downwards.
And now procedure against the Dragons, so Towson will have the ball with 11:50 to go and a 2-goal lead. A little bit of breathing room, but not that much with 11:40 remaining in the game. So plenty of time for Drexel to come back. The Dragons have never led in this game. Towson scored the first 3 goals and Drexel answered back. They tied it at 3, but Towson has led since then. And now a bad pass that rolls all the way out near midfield, but Towson's Brendan Sunday able to come up with it after Ray Bowden flipped it back over onto the offensive end.
That's a big play by Gray Bowden. And that's one of those things as defensemen, those don't go noticed all the time, but great job there. Oh boy.
And now a bad pass and the ball's loose behind the cage, and Teitelbaum had come behind and the Tigers take advantage as the goal scored there by Towson's Johnny Jafrida.
Nice job by Towson, picking that ball up, getting in front of the goal, and moving the ball well, drawing him in and moving it. Just excellent work. Phil Weiss knew there was no goalie in net, so if he could get that ball in front of the cage quickly, that was going to be a great shot, and he does it, gets it to Jafrida. Jafrida, who struggled catching those inside passes a few times, handles that one, does a nice job, and buries it in the back of the open net.
So we have had 2 goals scored by each team here in the first 3 minutes and 52 seconds of the fourth quarter. And it's 11-8 in favor of the Tigers. Even though Drexel has outshot Towson 35-29 tonight.
And Teitelbaum, very active goalie, I've noticed. He moves his body on saves, he comes out of the goal, and that can be a big benefit, but that can also come back to bite you like we saw here if you're not in the cage when the ball's moved.
Coita wins the face-off, but he throws it right to Brendan Sunday, who finds Jafrida down low, and Teitelbaum with a point-blank save. And the other way, here come the Dragons, and there's a long stick goal scored by Matt Klingus. And Mitch, as a defenseman, that's got to make your heart warm.
Yeah.
To see 2 goals by long poles here in the fourth quarter.
And it's so funny. I mean, we talked about this game being slow-paced and, you know, settling down. In this fourth quarter, I can't even keep up. It's back, and it's fourth, and they're scoring, they're executing. I mean, that handle that Klingus had right there, he jumped up, caught it, did a nice job, and then buries it. So the goalies are making saves. The offense is sparking transition, and these teams have turned this into a back-and-forth affair that's really, really fun to watch.
Klingus, the junior from Haverford, Pennsylvania, getting the Dragons back to within 2 with 10:39 to go here in this fourth quarter of play.
In the first part of this game, it was Marshall King, Matt Varian. That's it. Those are the only 2 scoring for Drexel. And in the second half, to come back in it, they've gotten help from everyone. Their faceoff man, their defenseman. They've gotten everyone involved, and that's going to make a big difference because Towson, they've been very balanced in their scoring. No one with more than 2 goals. I'm sorry, except Matt Severa had a hat trick, but everyone else with 1 or less, 2 or less goals. So really spreading it out, getting everyone involved. Drexel's going to have to match that.
This is just the 4th time this year that Towson in 10 games has gotten into double-digit goals. They scored 15 against Mount St. Mary's and 10 against Georgetown in a loss and 10 against Denver in an overtime loss.
And to be able to get up above 10 without too many transition goals, really a lot of settled 6-on-6 offense. That's really a positive thing for your offense. Because then if you chip in with a few from your back end like they're starting to now with that Kobe Smith goal, that's going to be huge.
Brendan Sunday comes down the right, and he makes it a 3-goal game again as he scores his 2nd of the evening. And Towson up 12-9 with 9:44 remaining in the ball game.
Those alley dodges, those have been effective for Towson. Just dodging down that alley, making that slide a difficult angle. You can see 24 comes across, and you're almost sliding downfield. It's difficult to get a good hard check on. It's difficult to get there in time. You feel like, I shouldn't go there. And just an excellent shot there by Brendan Sunday. Puts it in that far corner, and those have been very, very effective tonight, not just for him, but also for Matt Severo.
So the face-off here. And Alex Woodall did something the officials didn't like, so Drexel will get it with 9.5 minutes to go.
I was stuck in the back of his stick, the old double jiggle to try to get it out. Didn't do it fast enough. The refs didn't see it.
As Manganello has it up top. Lost it, gets it back. Dragons now, not desperate yet, but with 9:15 to go, time starting to run out, down by 3.
Like you said, against his zone, it's a little bit trickier. You got to get them rotating, you got to get them moving.
And there's a save by Brennan on the shot taken there by Marshall King.
Marshall King, that was his hot spot in the first quarter. Tries to go back to it, and this time Brennan says, I'm there, I know what's coming.
Towson will try to clear. Leading by 3, their biggest lead has been 5. Drexel has never led tonight.
Drexel looks like they bumped a pole up in the midfield. He's really pushing down, was pushing down on that clear, trying to create some havoc there. Brennan Greenwald was out there trying to make it difficult for that clear, but Towson's able to get it over the midfield line.
Jake McLean has it for Towson, throws it over, work at top right. To Maloof, back out to McLean, who comes down. He shoots, and that went right off his defenseman, but Towson gets the ball back. Feed in front for Jafrida, and he's able to, off balance, stick it home to make it a 13-9 game.
Well, I think Jafrida might have heard me talking about his trouble handling those inside passes, because he's made a couple great handles inside, catches that with somebody draped all over him, turns around, 2 guys on his back, a little underhand scoop, and boom goes the dynamite and puts it top shelf.
So Drexel, who had actually cut it to a 1-goal game, now finds themselves down by 4 with 8 minutes to go. So the face-off won by Alex Woodall. He has not had a great night, but he's won the last few, which is big for Towson because they've got the 4-goal lead, now possession.
As you come down the stretch, those become so much more important, is those late face-offs, because that's when you can sit on the ball and wait until that shot clock goes on from the refs, and you're able to milk the clock a little bit. But with the way their offense is playing, I wouldn't be surprised if they keep dodging, keep running, keep taking those looks, because they're finding the inside looks, and they're also beating them from those outside shots. So they've got Drexel in that kind of in-between where they're not comfortable not sliding, but when they slide, they're able to find those gaps.
Towson moving it around. They get it up top to Monahan. Transfer from Maryland. Throws it cross field over to Chetner, who shoots, and he gets his first goal of the night. And for Jean-Luc, that's his 8th of the year, and Towson matches their biggest lead, 14-9 with 7:10 to go.
So Sparrow, we talked about it earlier. If you can draw the slide and get the ball to the opposite side of the field, that's usually where the looks come. Typically, you've got to transfer that to the middle. Does a nice job there of getting that little, Tim Monahan checks with that little fake pass up the middle and then skips it all the way through, freezes the Drexel defense and makes it hard for him to get in that passing lane, and gets it right through the Chetner, and Chetner basically gets to step in and take the shot he wants.
So Drexel, all that work to get back to within 1, only to see Towson score 4 straight. And Mitch, you see that so many times in sports where a team is down and they fight their way back, but once they get back, it's like they took all their energy to get back, and then they fall backwards again.
Exactly, and they did such a nice job of coming back and firing it up, but then you just run out of steam when you got all that momentum. If you can't keep the ball moving forward, or one little, it's almost like a balloon. It's get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then one goal by Towson pops that balloon. It's hard to get it going again.
So the Tigers set up on offense with 6.5 minutes to go.
And then, of course, it gets even harder when you don't have the ball.
Brendan Sunday from outside, and he scores his third of the night. And it's a 15-9 Towson lead. They matched their biggest output of the year. They had 15 against Mount St. Mary's back on February the 17th. And for Drexel, this is the second most goals they've given up this year. They gave up 18 to Albany in week 2. And they've seen Towson put up 15 here tonight.
Yeah, Towson's doing a great job of moving the ball and finding those open men, and then also beating their one-on-one matchup. So when you have that ability to break down your man one-on-one and then score off that, that forces the slide. And then when they slide, and you find that either the inside man or move it quickly to the backside and get those looks, then now you've got the defense on their heels and they're just not quite sure what to do. So here we see Kobe Smith sparking it with that offensive play. They take advantage of a loose ball situation, picking it up and burying it. And then here we just go back to the old bread and butter. The alley dodge, slide doesn't come. Then we go to another crazy inside look, and then finally we wrap up with another, we'll see here, another, nope, there's the inside, little backhand scoop.
By Jafrida. And then Chetner from the outside with the left hand. So 15-9 in favor of Towson with 6:20 remaining here in this ball game. Even though Drexel continues to have outshot Towson 37-34 here tonight.
Yeah, and I think the big difference for me is the play of Shane Brennan between the pipes. He's made those saves here late that he wasn't making in the first half. So those shots, despite being on cage, are being gobbled up and then turned into transition or turned into Towson offensive stands.
Well, we've had some changes in our scores in the CAA. UMass is now leading Delaware 8-7 in the fourth quarter, and Fairfield has taken a 5-4 lead over Hofstra in the fourth quarter. Number 1 Albany continuing to trail UMBC 11-7 in the fourth quarter. And a lot of these games moved because everyone anticipated a big snowstorm tomorrow, which isn't coming.
Everyone's going to have a nice Saturday to hang out.
Right.
Enjoy their win or lick their wounds and figure out what they got to do next week to get a big win.
So now Towson winning another face-off as Drexel has dominated at the circle for most of the game, but here in the fourth quarter it's been Towson coming up with the face-off wins.
Yeah, and this is where Drexel's going to have to start putting some pressure on. They're down by 6 goals. They need the ball back. Obviously, you don't want to give up any more, but you got to put some pressure on and make Towson throw the ball away, make Towson turn the ball over or take shots that they don't want to take.
Luke Frommert getting a little run for the Tigers, a freshman from Stevensonville, Maryland. Transfer from Mercer. Another player from Maryland's Eastern Shore. 5:25 to go in the game with Drexel trailing Towson 15-9. The Dragons stay on the road next week as they will travel to Fairfield, while Towson goes on the road next week to Amherst to play UMass. And there's a goal scored by Johnny Jafrida. He's got the hat trick, and it's 16-9 Towson with 5:10 to go.
Jafrida has really done a nice job of finding those seams, and every time he's caught the ball inside, he's putting it on cage.
Came in with just 2 goals this year. He's got 3 tonight.
Whether it's the backhanded flip or whether it's just the straight low to low, he's done a nice job of getting that ball up very quickly. As an inside guy, you've got to be able to get that ball on your stick, secure it, take a quick look at the gauge, see where the goal is, and fire it. He's done that consistently in the second half.
So Towson with their biggest goal output of the year here, 16-9, coming off their worst goal performance of the year last week against Hofstra when they scored just 3. And there's another face-off win, and Brendan Sunday with kind of a no-look pass trying to hit Jafrida in the middle of the field, and that didn't work, and that's going to upset the Towson coaching staff, I'm sure, with 5 minutes to go and a 7-goal lead. No reason to give Drexel the ball back, but they turn it right back over to Towson.
And that looked like that was going to be a huge hit. Instead, went for the stick check. I think it might have been a little bit, I think that was Phil Weiss, might have been a little shaken up on that, trying to make a play, but knocked the ball loose, and now Towson will maintain possession here. I could be wrong. We'll have to go to the officials test. I think Jafrida might have 4. He might be leading the charge right now.
You might be right.
He's been pouring it on this half. He had an early goal, the 3rd goal of the game. and then has just been on fire in this fourth quarter with a hat trick in this quarter, I believe.
So the Tigers, and you're right, Jafrida with 4, Sunday and Severo each with 3. Work it out front, and McLean lost it, got it back for Towson with 4:05 to go. Wise in front. Jafrida just scored his 5th goal of the night, and it's 17-9, and a flag goes down. We'll see if this gets waved off.
Yeah, I think that's a frustration penalty. Looks like the slide came and followed through, finished on his check. Jafrida, nice job handling that. Like you said, he's been lethal inside. Yeah, we see Phil Weiss there, just gets clobbered on the slide. Good slide. Probably need to hold up on that hit as he comes through there, knowing that he got the ball. Physical play in a close game, I don't think that gets called, but with a 17-9 as they start to work away, Russ want to keep this under control, make sure no one gets frustrated, no one gets hurt. They're going to call that every time.
Wise with 3 assists tonight. Came in with just 1.
And he's done a great job. He's had a short stick matchup quite a bit this game, and early on he beat that short stick matchup for the first goal for Towson, and then was really doing a nice job of beating that matchup, drawing the slide, keeping his head up, and that's what allowed him to rack up those assists. And Jafrida has luckily been on the receiving end of a lot of those passes.
Alex Woodall wins the faceoff, so the faceoffs are now even at 15 apiece. As we head to the final 3.5 minutes of the game with Towson on top of Drexel, 17-9, and who would have thought it about 15 minutes ago when Drexel had cut it to 1. As Towson feeds, there's a shot taken by Jafrida looking for his 6th tonight, and it gets deflected off by Teitelbaum out of bounds, but Towson keeps possession.
I don't understand what just happened. Spiro took a shot and it didn't go in the back of the net. This is the fourth quarter. That's all he does this quarter.
Another shot taken by the Tigers, this one by Maloof. And I'm going to jinx us now, but we are 3 minutes away as Monahan takes a shot that's deflected. We're 2 minutes and 57 seconds away by going the entire game without a shot clock put on.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see the stat on that in the NCAA, how often that's happened. But it's interesting because it hasn't been necessarily a super high-paced game. Each team has settled in their offense, but
Chetner shooting quickly.
Both teams have
Towson
to
keeps
take
shooting,
a shot. Exactly.
so they're not going to get the shot clock put on if they keep shooting.
Yeah, it's an interesting call, Sparrow, because your offense is the most goals they've scored all season. They scored 3 last game. You kind of want them to keep going and keep feeling it, right? But at the same time, you don't want to get any chance of Drexel coming back, and you don't want to take shots where you don't have backup like just happened. So
you also don't want to run up the score against a conference foe that you may see in a tournament in 4 weeks. Drexel comes down and a shot taken there by Reed Bowering and a save made by Brennan. And the other thing is both these head coaches are former Johns Hopkins Blue Jays.
Sure, they might have I'm of the belief though when you get to the high level Division I college professional, if you don't want a team to score on you, you got to stop them defensively. Right. So I don't think it's right to completely jam it down a team's throat when they're down, but at the same time I don't want you taking your foot off the gas if you're beating me, because I want my defense to get better. I want to see what's not working. So I'm of the ilk that, hey, if you want to stop me, then you better put your defense out to stop me. So but like you said, that can also be fodder for the cork board when tournament time comes.
Shot taken by Towson there as Luke Frommert couldn't get it past Teitelbaum, and now here comes Drexel trying to clear with 1:23 to go. So a nice bounce back victory for Towson that will end the 3-game losing streak. And for Drexel, they will lose their 2nd in a row after winning 4 out of 5.
Yeah, they never seem to be able to get comfortable. Really, kudos to Coach Nadalin for the game plan he put in. Coach Volker knew he expected some zone, but to lead off with zone, as he mentioned, he said it was like his kids had never seen a zone before. They weren't able to get into a rhythm, and then from there it was just too little too late as they finally started to battle back, but like you said, just ran out of steam. So looks like they just aren't going to be able to get the momentum they need to get over that hump in this game. And Towson's offense really started clicking towards the second half.
So now Towson grabs it with 35 seconds to go as Kobe Smith gets the steal. And Zach Goodrich just going to kind of stand there and hold it as this clock will run down. And Mitch, we did it. We went a whole game without a shot clock.
Wow, yeah, I was going to say, with 18 seconds left, they can't do it now.
They can't do it now.
So you called it. We're going to put this one in the record books. We'll see how many of those happen this season.
So for Drexel, they've got to regroup and get ready to head up to Connecticut to take on Fairfield next week. And for Towson, they want to keep it going as this ball game is over. They will head to Massachusetts next Saturday. So it's been a big win for the Tigers and a big loss for Drexel because they fall to 0-2 while Towson goes to 1-1 in the CAA.
Yeah, huge win there for Towson, and more importantly, than maybe not more importantly because every CAA game is crucial, but just as important to see their offense go from 3 goals to 17 goals. I mean, that's something that you can hang your hat on with a couple players that are out of the lineup that are supposedly your best scorers. To be able to do that without them too, that's something that they can build off of and really rally around. So I'm sure Coach Nadelin's really excited about this meeting he's going to have with his team and to be able to move forward next week.
So once again, our final score, it was Towson 17 and Drexel 9. For Mitch Bilal and our entire crew here at Towson, I'm Spiro Marikas filling in for Brendan Glasheen. Thanks for watching our coverage of the CAA Game of the Week. Coming up next, it's the Lacrosse Now postgame show live from the LSN Broadcast Center.